Is Darwin's theory truly scientific? This question might be unexpected, even shocking to some. It's like questioning the very foundation on which much of modern biology is built. But it's not a new question. In fact, it's been around for quite some time. The year was 1973 when Imre Lakatos, a prominent philosopher of science, posed a question that left many pondering. He stated, "Nobody to date has yet found a demarcation criterion according to which Darwin can be described as scientific." Imagine that over 100 years after Charles Darwin proposed his theory, and here's a renowned philosopher casting doubt on its scientific validity. It's a provocative question, isn't it? It challenges the way we perceive the scientific nature of Darwin's theory. The question remains, can we find a demarcation criterion that qualifies Darwin's theory as scientific? In 1991, Helena Cronin, a colleague of Lakatos, took a step to validate Darwin's theory scientifically. She set her sights on establishing Darwinian theory as empirically scientific, leaning heavily on the evidence of likeness in the diversity of life forms across the globe. This likeness, she argued, was explained by descent with modification, a cornerstone of Darwinian theory. Cronin hoped to bolster Darwin's position in the scientific arena through this approach, drawing a line of continuity from a common ancestor to the myriad of species we see today. However, her attempt was not without its flaws. While the concept of likeness in diversity is intriguing, it falls short of providing the concrete, empirical evidence that science demands. The fossil record and genetic evidence, two areas that could potentially support Cronin's claim, failed to deliver the decisive proof she sought. Despite Cronin's efforts, Darwin's theory still struggles to meet the scientific criteria. The fossil record and genetic evidence, two critical areas of scientific inquiry, fail to support Darwin's theory. Let's delve into this a bit further. Take the Cambrian explosion, for instance. This event, which saw a sudden burst in the diversity of life forms, presents a significant conundrum. According to Douglas Irwin and James Valentine, the morphological gaps between body plans of crown phyla were present from the very beginning and have persisted throughout time. The disparity is so vast that homologous reference points, essential for quantitative studies of morphology, are missing. Now, let's fast forward to 2013. Where a study turned our understanding of evolution on its head. Contrary to popular belief, not all animal groups evolved fundamentally new morphologies over time. Instead, most achieved their greatest diversity of form relatively early in their histories. This early high disparity contradicts the traditional V-shaped cone model of evolution. Moving on to genetic evidence, a compelling article from 2023 titled "New Peer-Reviewed Paper on Dependency Graph Model" claimed that genetic data undermines evolutionary theory at its core. The inconsistencies and similarities with any evolutionary tree suggest that the foundational assumption of common ancestry is flawed. So, what does all this mean? It means that both the fossil record and genetic evidence present significant challenges to the scientific validity of Darwin's theory. It's a complex and fascinating subject, certainly worthy of further exploration. Even Darwin himself admitted the speculative nature of his theory. In a series of letters exchanged with Asa Gray, a renowned professor of biology at Harvard University, Darwin unveiled the hypothetical underpinnings of his work. He didn't shy away from acknowledging that his theory ventured beyond the territories of established science. In one of his correspondences, Darwin made a candid admission. He wrote, "I am quite conscious that my speculations run quite beyond the bounds of true science." This was not an offhand remark. It was a thoughtful reflection on the nature of his evolutionary theory and its divergence from the principles of empirical science. Asa Gray, intrigued by Darwin's confession, probed further. He wanted to understand the extent to which Darwin's theory was conjectural. In response to Gray's inquiries, Darwin reaffirmed his initial confession. He wrote, "What you hint at generally is very, very true. That my work is grievously hypothetical, and large parts are by no means worthy of being called induction." Darwin's self-awareness is striking. He was well aware that he was challenging the boundaries of science as it was understood in his time. He acknowledged that his theory was not purely scientific, but a blend of observation, speculation, and daring leaps of imagination. In Darwin's own words, his work runs quite beyond the bounds of true science, a fact that continues even today to fuel the debate over whether Darwin's even qualifies as a true science.